Well, first of all, thank you very much, Randeli Foundation, for organizing such events. On several occasions, I had pleasure to meet with Alexander Iskandarian, and I believe this kind of dialogue between experts important. It's not that the civil society is going to make any changes, but I'm not speaking more about civil society. I'm speaking about the expert dialogue, at least to understand positions each other, and also just general to have discussion, especially in the view that we might speak about trilateral format. I will come to that later. But before, I'll try to be brief. I prepared a presentation, and I'll shrink it to fit in 7-10 minutes. We need to understand where we are, Armenia and Azerbaijan. Yes, I agree that the overall dispute over Karabakh region of Azerbaijan, it's internationally recognized. But if we look at the history, we should understand where Armenia also, where their demand is coming. So we have this kind of three-stage process. First, it began with Miatsum. It means unification in Armenian language. And it lasted until the collapse of the Soviet Union. Even the Soviet parliament, Armenian parliament, adopted a decision to unite with Karabakh, with Armenia. But after the collapse, this kind of unification was not possible in terms of the international law, and it had negative connotations. So in our process began about self-determination, getting independence for Karabakh, which ended with the Second Karabakh War, and now Armenian speaks about remedial cessation. So the cessation of Karabakh for the sake of, to save people, etc. So this is the rhetoric of Armenian side. Again, we're speaking about, indeed, from our perspective, it's territorial integrity of Azerbaijan. From Armenian perspective, it's the Karabakh, and basically the leaders of Karabakh Armenians once again said that in the future, if they, let's say, get independence, the road is to be united for Armenia. I will skip historical part because we don't have time. So we have negotiations track, peace treaty. Fundamental core of this peace treaty is the mutual recognition of territorial integrity. It's the bottom line. It's simple, but at the same time complex, because again, we have Karabakh as a disputed issue. The second track is delimitation and demarcation of the border. And of course, you cannot delimitate the border if you don't recognize territorial integrity of another country. So this is how it's done practically in international relations. You have diplomatic relations, you have, can we get back to, yes, it's disappeared, yeah. So that's about delimitation. And then another important issue is opening of transportation links. It's also in trilateral statement of 2020. We have a Lachin corridor there, Article 4, and we have Article 9, which is not using the word corridor, but it has some, I'll come to that later, some provisions about the unimpeded movement of goods and people. A number of issues remain within, let's say, I put them in number 4, humanitarian issues. It's landmines, for Armenians, it's important the fate of the Armenian detainees. For us, it's important the missing persons from the First Karabakh War. Both countries claim about the damage to cultural heritage, some ecological issues, and some other. Another important, but probably that's for the future, is the reconciliation between two peoples. In parallel, we have the potential of Armenian-Turkey dialogue. For Azerbaijan, the issue of Karabakh should be resolved within the constitution of Azerbaijan. And it looks like at least this year, 2022, began quite promising, because we gave proposal to Armenian side, and the Prime Minister Pashinyan responded positively to these 5 items proposal. However, a lot of has changed from beginning of 2022, and we came by the end 2022 indeed with a bit of a negative connotation. And I believe the main spoiler of this process was Russia. My dear colleague was in Sochi, and he asked the question to President Putin about his vision, and what Putin alluded, basically saying, if Armenia agrees with Karabakh being part of Azerbaijan, and what we can do. And from that time, we've seen that basically negotiations derailed. My assessment that Pashinyan became afraid of internal opposition in Armenia. There is the diaspora factor, and also very important to know that in Karabakh now we have basically a Russian oligarch of Armenian origin, Ruben Vardanyan. I should tell you, it's not the public information, but this is what's beginning in October and before. Basically, central authorities in Baku began talking with Karabakh Armenians. We had some contacts, some conversation. Immediately, leader of Karabakh Armenians, Arek Aratunyan, he was called to Moscow. After that, Ruben Vardanyan was planted to Karabakh, and he cut all negotiation process with Baku, with central authorities. So the problems, bottom line, of the peace treaty, mutual recognition of Armenia and Azerbaijan. We have different approaches to delimitation and dispute over notion of corridor. Mutual accusation over heritage and some other humanitarian issues. And of course, another big problem is distrust and hatred. Speaking about delimitation, because the events in September raised the issue that Azerbaijan is attacking Armenian territory, but I would like to remind here, it's not, I believe this is the part where the Armenian claims that Azerbaijan controls Armenian territory. But we have the issue of enclaves. 7 enclaves in Gazakh region belongs to Azerbaijan internationally, but it's under control of Armenia since '91, and another enclave here called Kerki. But also, I should note this enclave, Bashkent we call, it's the Armenian enclave, now controlled by our side. So I think during the delimitation process, not only this issue should be resolved, but this one, and this one. It's a very complex issue. Oh, it's not working. The next slide. Okay. Well, I'll speak. Another issue is about corridor. Again, we're referring to Article 9 of the trilateral statement, which speak about unimpeded movement of citizens, vehicles, and goods in both directions. And we're speaking about corridors which are supposed to get here. Armenian side declared that they opening free roads through Armenian territory, but you see it's 700 kilometers we have to cross Armenian territory, instead 42 kilometers. This is what Armenian proposing, and here the question of who is going to provide security for Azerbaijan is crossing through Armenian territory here to Nakhchivan. But here we have in trilateral statement, it will be security provided by the Russians. So we have this mutual differences in terms of to provide access for Armenians to Karabakh and Azerbaijanis to Nakhchivan. Yeah, next slide, please. And we have now about international actors very briefly. I think Russia is not interested in long-term solution, remain important player because they believe that through Karabakh issue they can manipulate over Armenia and also contain Azerbaijan. US looks like proposing, back please. Back, please. Yes, it's yes, before. Yeah. We have United States, who would like to make some contributions, but has spoilers. Yes, this one. Can you keep it for a moment? Yeah. And we have quite positive development on the auspices of Sharm el-Sheikh. Unfortunately, we had spoilers in terms of France, because what we had in the last meeting, Macron, it was ad hoc appearance. It was not the format which we agreed upon. The format is Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Sharm el-Sheikh. That's the trilateral format. We differently view, of course, from Armenian side, we look negatively at Turkey. We believe that Turkey is important balancing power, especially in the view of balancing Russian influence in the South Caucasus and Russian pressure. And we have another important players. We didn't speak much, but Iran, we have now a very tense moment between Azerbaijan and Iran. Unfortunately, we don't have time to elaborate on that. But a bit of optimism, I would like to say, potential peace tracks remains between Armenia and Azerbaijan, two platforms. We have Brussels and Moscow. With even, Armenia looks negatively at Russian platform, but again, that's the reality. Russia has leverage in the region, and in one way, in another, will remain influential players. Armenian Turkey normalization process, yes, it's conditioned by the progress on first track, but still, I think also a bit promising. And we have new suggestion, new initiative, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia. Azerbaijan and Georgia voiced their support. Recently, Garibashvili and Aliyev met, and both countries. So looks like Armenia might also join to this trilateral platform. But speaking frankly, again, it much will depend whether Armenia and Azerbaijan will recognize each other's territorial integrity. And basically, that's it. I mean, we can speak about the conundrum of a Lachin corridor, but it's all related to this context. Thank you.